All right, sup, fellow citizens. Welcome back to the Path of Rage and our Tuesday Star Citizen coverage. I'm going to go over the Squadron 42, or pardon me, the Persistent Universe monthly report for October. And in the background, I will be having walkthroughs of both the new MISC Starlancer and the RSI Polaris. Those were made available to Evocati this weekend. So I thought I would do a quick run through and show them off to you guys. But in any case, let's get into it. Now, the AI content team from the monthly report, they supported the social behaviors tied to Stanton's derelict outposts and settlements, which will be used for new mission content. As neutral players can visit these locations, NPCs need to behave normally when not under threat or under mission conditions. Again, because we might not have a reputation with them, they have to act normally. They won't just shoot on sight unless we've already pissed them off, but we know that that's coming. The AI features team spent some time in October improving human combat features for Alpha 4.0. For first reactions, the behavior was refactored to provide more consistent responses across a wide range of situations, and this was thoroughly tested in their quote test cell unquote mentioned in the previous reports. The team continued to iterate on functionality for NPCs on healing down friendlies, which will be a game changer. Imagine doing the bunkers right now and they've got a medic class bringing the guys up that you just walked past thinking you downed them permanently. These changes will include changes to the actor states to ensure that animation flow continues correctly between individual and synchronized animations. A test cell was also created to ensure that the medic works consistently across different setups, including from different directions around the patient's body. Again, that's all going to come down to animations too as well. We don't want to see bodies just teleporting around. For ammo and weapon management, the devs looked at reload functionality, including behavior switching, including behavior for switching to a sidearm when picking up ammo or looting bodies and then switching back. Improvements were made to NPCs with rocket launchers. They will now engage even when no cover is available, and they will switch to their sidearm when an enemy gets too close. AI features and audio teams also partnered to implement and fix wild lines across all behaviors, including first reactions, tactics, and investigations. And here I went third person, just so you can kind of get an idea of the scale of this ship. She's a big lad. She's a big girl. The Polaris is even bigger. That one's a big boy. He's a chunky boy. But anyway, back to the monthly report here. They also the AI features team also delivered the first Valakar gameplay at CitizenCon. Now I can't remember offhand if I had shown that in my prior video, but for those of you who didn't see it, we finally saw a real sandworm in action, similar to the one they showed way back in the day that was just smoke and mirrors, and they even admitted to it. This will now be a mission. You can use certain size vehicles and drive around on one of the pyro planets or moons, and you will summon different size Balakars, small to immensely large. And the reason why you're going to want to do that is because they have valuable harvestables on them. So when crafting and whatnot, or even just selling them, when all that comes online, there will be a reason to attack these things, and you will need a fully decked out crew. This is not something, from the sounds of it, that a single player is going to be pulling off on a regular basis, I would say. There are some people who will. Moving on to the AI Tech team. The AI Tech continued to support server meshing, synchronizing the subsumption component between dedicated servers so that NPCs continue their assigned behaviors when switching. They then implemented the first pass on several features presented in CitizenCon, including improvements to enemy vision perception, which now takes planetary lighting cycles into account, which I find very cool. The first pass of the dynamic cover generation for planets was also completed. Now, I'm pretty certain I didn't show any clips of this off, maybe a slight one. This wasn't one of those topics that I showed off because I focused on the things that meant the most to me in CitizenCon in my last week's coverage. But this one was cool because this turns everything in the game into dynamic cover. You'll be able to take cover now. So you see a stone on the ground, you'll be able to hide behind it properly, and they all have different armor volumes, I guess, armor rates. I see this making a big difference. This cover generation can also be used in other locations, with navigation areas. As seen as CitizenCon, the team can now generate cover locations and surfaces at the same time as a navigation mesh. Again, huge if true. Functionality has also been added to link navigation cost volume and navigation exclusion volume to different object containers. So outpost object containers that feature exclusion or cost volumes can now influence how the nav mesh on the planet is generated. They also made ship AI improvements, including planetary avoidance, optimized ship weapon fire validation against allies. They optimized the perception-related components like vision and hearing. And my personal experience playing in the PTU is that this does, in fact, make a difference. The AI seem smarter, more capable, without, being godly overpowered. They make sense. Still work to go, but they make sense. Moving on to the Game Intelligence Development Team. Is still in the AI teams here. They polished Starscript 1.0 for its internal release. They reduced the loading time for a majority of large containers, like a whole star system, they say, from 10 seconds to 2 seconds. That's a big deal considering how much streaming is in here. And integrated the new groups look to more clearly differentiate between them. They introduced min and max zoom ranges in the graph editor, and graphs are now presented in the same order as their names in the outlines. This is a lot of stuff, obviously, for developers. The relationship between proprieties panel, the proprieties panel, yes, and the selected item on the smart panel was improved. Rounded square tasks were integrated into the smart panel to mimic tasks in the graph viewer. Basically, a whole bunch of different ways for programming. Well, this is a bit into the weeds and on the development side. Now, moving on to the animation team, they worked on, again, the Valakar, the giant sandworm, and the space cow, along with making adjustments to the Copion. And they also continued to provide facial animation support for persistent universe characters and prep for an upcoming narrative shoot. And they're currently supporting level design with a number of player interaction animations for level traversal. The art character team focused on tasks related to CitizenCon after the event, and the team continued creating the utility and specialist armors, including color and material variants to support factions and missions. Work also began on armors for upcoming events, and the character concept art team was creating new armors, including utility, battletech, and a super heavy armor. Now, they've talked about this before. They talked about this a bit at CitizenCon too. The idea is to have armors that all do different things. You won't have a one-size-fit-all. And I think that's going to be a good thing. You'll have to pay attention to what you're actually doing as opposed to just always fitting a standard loadout. The ships team for art saw a final content review for the RSI Polaris, which we'll be walking through next. And the final content tasks are currently in progress for the MISC Starlancer Max. They also are nearly finished with 2 unannounced vehicles, while several more are approaching their white box and gray box reviews. 6 additional vehicles will begin production soon as well. The economy team continued their ongoing work on Pyro and began implementing some balance changes mentioned in previous monthly reports. Nothing really to speak of there. That is the extent of that update. The mission design team finalized the Save Stanton quest chain. The features in this quest chain, there are 3 new modular missions. They also created a journal entry for players to track with their progression, throughout the event. The mission system refactor progressed, while the future handyman missions entered QATR, not sure what that means. I mean, quality assurance something, and are currently going through the final polish phase. They're also planning tasks for future releases alongside of the fundamental archetypes for some of the guilds that were unveiled at CitizenCon. Now, the Save Stanton quest change is one I have not actually tried yet. I'm going to have to do that. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see how it goes with my time after I'm done recording this. But yeah, I have not had the chance to actually try out those new missions, so I'll have to get back to you on what that's like. The narrative team tackled a multitude of tasks in the lead up to CitizenCon. For example, generating mission text and discoverables for Alpha 3.24 point patches, and working through a ton of text needed to support the mission content in Alpha 4.0. Their major announcement for the month came during that The Stars My Destination presentation, which I did cover, and that was the one that was outlining what Star Citizen 1.0 will look like. And they also produced a Whitley's Guide for the Idris and a portfolio on WildStar racing alongside with October's Jump Point. In the online technology department, that services team progressed with features for Alpha 4.0. As a part of this, the refactor of the entity subscription service used for markers was completed and is currently being tested. The backend social system changes needed for server meshing began internal QA. The mission system is also starting its first round of testing, with additional features currently in development to support larger coordinated missions. And the Live Tools team began finalizing a new tool to provide more detailed and powerful access management to Hex. The testing phase began with the player support teams, with their feedback driving future improvements, and the work on the new architecture for the internal error reporting pipeline also progressed as well. I can English. The R&D department spent the last few months supporting the induction of dynamic weather. And what we saw of that in CitizenCon was cool. There's going to be the evolving clouds, which a compute pass was done to animate the global cloudscape based on local planet properties, such as the temperature, humidity, and wind, as I covered before. This data also allowed them to build a weather map that allows the weather to drive the virtual effects, physics, and gameplay. This includes precipitation information as well as extracted positions of potential lighting locations. An API was also implemented to allow the game to sample these weather attributes from both the GPU and CPU in a consistent, simple, and efficient way. To render believable wet weather, support for rain volume rendering was added to the atmosphere ray marcher. Rain volumes are essentially columns of rain underneath heavy clouds that self-shadow alongside casting shadows into the environment. This is important to prevent incorrectly lit scenes where players would expect dense rain volumes to partially block sunlight, noticeably at dusk and dawn. Changes to the indirect lighting were implemented to improve multi-scattering on the atmosphere and clouds. Multi-scattering is now aware of cloud presence alongside the atmosphere, and as a result, the overcast skies are less hazy, and blue and cloud tops appear brighter. To give moving clouds a smoother look, changes were made to account for their movement when sampling cloud shadows as well as the GPU weather map. Further improvements are being worked on to reduce the noticeable stepping of cloud shadows when the camera moves. Wow, I can't English. I'm going to pause here for a second while I'm looking around this right here. We just looked around that social area. I like everything about this ship, to be honest. I like that social area. This whole ship, the Star Lancer, it gives me a very Firefly vibe. Serenity vibe. I'm not gonna lie. The only thing I don't like about it, we're about to see right now, and there's that god-awful view that MISC ships have. But anyway, I won't harp on about it. Let's continue on with the monthly report. There's a little bit more on how they were getting rain and clouds moving better and being rendered smoothly, but you get the gist. And then finally, the VFX team, supported various presentations at CitizenCon, including the biomes, the base building in Levski, and they continue to support the vehicle and the location teams with upcoming deliverables. Now that is the October Persistent Universe monthly report. There was a Star Citizen live this week and an Inside Star Citizen. Inside Star Citizen was a behind-the-scenes rehash of CitizenCon. Not really anything for me to give info here. If you're interested in behind-the-scenes stuff, go take a look at it. I recommend it. Star Citizen Live was your usual question and answer. I have not, unfortunately, had any time to watch it yet, or to even take notes before I had to make this video. So I will link it, and of course Star Citizen Live, or Inside Star Citizen, in the description below, and I suggest you go and check them out. Alright folks, and now we have our Polaris. This is the biggest player-owned capital ship in the game to date. Yes, the Idris is a player-owned ship, but it is not in the PU. It's not going to be, I believe, until after Squadron 42 is released. You can see them in the PU. They are being used by AI enemies, but you can't actually retrieve one and use it and crew it yourself yet. This will be the first capital ship that's released to players. It's coming out on November 22nd to December 3rd, I think, which is IAE, the Interstellar Aerospace Expo, or International or Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. That is going to be a free flight event. So if you have not tried out Star Citizen yet, and these walkthroughs here in this episode for these two ships have caught your attention, especially this one once we start going through it, I recommend that you go and download the game and try it out for free. This is something I advocate all the time. I know some people are already chomping at the bit to buy this Polaris when it comes on sale again, and other people have, and I also know it's several $100s, and I don't suggest you do that. Again, folks, I've always said, buy the starter package, the bare minimum, wait until the game comes out, and if you want to throw more money at them, then by all means, go ahead. Support the project, help them get it funded, but don't break your bank. Unless you got fuck you money, then. And you do you. In the meantime, I think what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to shut up for now. I've gone over the monthly report, and I'm just going to let this walkthrough of the Polaris go through. You let me know how you guys enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up if you did, if you like this format, or if you prefer me talking all the way through and in a more concise video. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Sound off about what you think about this game. If you do the free flight and you do decide to actually back the project, use my creator code and get some extra cash for both of us. Not that it amounts to much, but might as well do it. And in the meantime, I've been Rayjack Games, and I will see you in the verse. Bye-bye.
space industry.